Welcome to Make Shit Happen Show. Today is episode number 13. Today we are here with Sukaina Rajani. How you doing, Sukaina?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for taking the time. I really appreciate it. I know you're going through some family problems. Your brother is ill, and you still made time. So I want to thank you for that.
Oh no, my absolute pleasure. Thank you again.
So Sukaina, I was reading about you, and you grew up in Canada.
I did. I was born and raised in Edmonton, Alberta.
Alberta, Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So, in 2014, I learned that Alberta is almost like a twin city of Houston.
It's oil and gas based, so that's like the first similarity. And then we love cowboys like y'all do.
Yes, for sure. So, we have a big rodeo. I mean, they have rodeo over there?
We have the Stampede, and I believe it's even larger than the rodeo.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Bigger than rodeo.
Bigger than the rodeo.
So what they do, they have the same
yep, like the exhibition, concerts, food.
So have you been to rodeo?
I have.
Have you been to the rodeo cook-off?
I have.
Okay. Well, I'm telling you, so I've been going to rodeo cook-off. This is going to be 13th year. I've only missed 1 year in 13 years.
Okay, that's impressive.
That's pretty
that also tells me you like to party.
Well, I'm not going to say anything about that. I'll always get like one or two rodeo, one or two passes bands.
Yeah.
I mean the wristbands, and I'll end up going to maybe about 7 or 8 tents. Don't ask me how. Don't ask me why.
Back to the original conclusion. You like to party.
I just keep going. For some reason, I've always had this thing. Like I don't like to stand in line. I don't like to just keep going. Like you belong there.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you're in business. I'm in business, and sometimes for you to succeed in business, you just got to sometimes just go do it. But, by saying that, I remember that one of the guys who always like to do it and don't think about stuff is Tillman Fertitta, and you were in a show. Oh,
we were the premiere episode.
The $1 Billion Buyer, and that's where I saw you the first time.
Yep.
How was that experience?
Let me just put it this way. I don't think I will ever hate on the Kardashians ever again. They know how to put on a really good show and film it within a certain period of time on a daily basis.
How long did it take to film?
It took us about 13 days to film 22 minutes of airtime, of which only 11 minutes was probably me. Like the rest was Tillman.
Right.
Yeah.
So 13 days. And how long was each
They were
day?
like 10, 12-hour days. I mean, they made us go as long as we could. There was one day in Galveston that actually got completely cut out. And we were probably there for about 18 hours.
Really?
That was the day that Tillman wanted to film his helicopter landing. And so that took a bit of time. And we did a big little competition between his pastry chef and me. And then we were able to go by the San Luis, we were at the San Luis Resort. So we got to walk around the pool and talk to guests and sample macarons and gelato. And it was awesome, but it just got cut. I mean, we can't control that. LA controls that.
So how did you get in touch with, how did you get on the show? That's what I want to know.
I'll be really honest. I still don't know. I did not audition for the show. I got a call from CNBC once, and you as a business owner, you think they're soliciting. You're like, I'm not interested, click. I'm not interested, click. And finally this one woman was like, listen, I really need to talk to you. Somebody referred us to you. We're casting for the show. And so I told her to call me after an hour because I had spin scheduled. And the way that my life works is that if I don't make it to these things, it just doesn't happen, Okay. So I've learned to now slowly
spin cycling.
Yeah.
Okay.
I need to learn to prioritize myself in a little bit of this mix. So, especially after years of not prioritizing myself. So she called me exactly in an hour. And so I picked up the phone. She told me about the show. I told her I wasn't sure about it. And then she dropped Tillman's name. And I'm like, well, I know Mr. Fertitta because Mr. Fertitta and Paige have been our clients when we first opened. And so I'm like, he exists. You can't just name drop. And they're like, yeah, he's on the show. And I'm like, oh, he's a billionaire. I'm like, okay, let me look into this. So that night I went online and I looked at the casting, but the casting was closed. So I was like, why are they contacting me? And then I have South Asian parents. And so of course they start asking you questions about your financials and things about your business that are a little bit more proprietary. And my parents are like, it's a competitor. So they're trying to get information from you. Be careful. Don't tell them anything. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. So I actually did this weird thing, which they all laugh about now, but the casting director's email was just a weird generic email. It wasn't like, casting director at Endemol Shine Group or CNBC. It was like Candra at casting.com or Candra casting at gmail.com. And I'm like, something's shady about
I
this.
don't know about
right?
that. I don't know.
So,
I would have thought the same thing.
So I ended up going ahead and calling Endemol Shine Group, who was taking care of CNBC or the network that they're in. And I was like, hey, are you guys casting for this show? Who's the casting director? She tells me, like, can you forward me to her line? And so, of course, she answers and she's like, hey, Sukaina, I'm so glad you called back. And I'm like, she's like, why were you calling? I'm like, I was just making sure you were legit, like just straight up. So I actually don't know how we got referred. They said that someone went ahead and referred us. They were really interested in making us the premier, like, feel good family episode, especially since we were in the heart of River Oaks, where, you know, Tillman's house and family are. And so that's kind of how it started.
So does him or his wife or still come in?
So now they have their own pastry chef for the pastry shop that they've opened up at Post Oak Hotel. Okay. So they can get macarons from there. But we do still bump into each other a lot, and they are a lovely, lovely, lovely family.
You've been to Post Oak Hotel?
I've been there. Yes, in fact,
did he at least give you the membership for Oak Room or something?
You know what? I'll throw that pitch at him the next time I see him.
Next time you see him?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice place. You've been to the Oak Room?
I have.
Yeah, nice place. You need to tell him, hey.
Great view.
You need to tell him, let me be the member over there.
Yeah, at least just do that much, right? You didn't give me a deal. At least give me this. Yeah.
A complimentary. So did you get a deal with them?
No, we did not. And the reality of the matter is that macarons are a very like luxury product, and most of the restaurants that Tillman's a part of were not really the clientele that would want macarons. So Post Oak Hotel, the casinos, and you know that new little pastry shop that he did were definitely, but the volume just wasn't high enough, and we couldn't agree on pricing. I was a little bit too expensive.
So basically the show was real, like the pricing was higher than he wanted, and then he said, "Hey, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna do it." Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So nothing, but he probably just bought it from you just for his employees or something like that.
It was, well, usually beforehand it was for family, right? Okay. It was for functions or parties and things like that. So, but on a business level, no, we didn't end up doing it.
Okay. So now, you were telling, I was reading your bio, and it said that you had went to school for
pharmacology.
Pharmacology.
Yeah. So
tell us, what is pharmacology?
So pharmacology is basically drug science. It's what you would do leading up to becoming a pharmacist, if that's what you chose to do, if you wanted to dispense. I didn't, but then I soon realized I also could not stare at a microscope all day. Like, I'm far too social for that. And so I did another degree in secondary ed. So I actually taught high school biochem and physics for a year. And then from there, I started my master's in rehab med. And that was a little bit short-lived, unfortunately. I ended up getting married. And the story is that I had a semi-arranged marriage. And I always say this, like, it wasn't like arranged. My parents didn't put a gun to my head. It was, we were good on paper, not good in real life. And that's what actually brought me to Houston. So the guy was from here. And, South Asian culture, the girl moves to where the guy is at normally. And so I moved here and I didn't resume grad school, but I started doing my master's in holistic nutrition online. And from there, I ended up opening up my own holistic wellness and nutrition practice here in Houston that was also located inside of a yoga studio. So then I, at the same time started teaching yoga. And during that time, I ended up actually getting divorced. In the midst of that, I had this new business that I really wanted to work on, and somehow my parents just kind of let me have some time with it. Wow. Normally...
And the new business is Macaron by Patisse?
No, that new business was just my clinic.
Oh, clinic.
And so, normally you go back home to your family. And so the conversation was, Mommy, Daddy, I just started this, and can you just give me a few months to see if this will get anywhere, So it was great. I worked with a lot of children with ADD, ADHD, or on the autism spectrum. I worked a lot with individuals with IBDs or Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, IBS for lack of better term. And the thing that really got me interested was the fact that my brother has Crohn's disease, right? So I was already naturally gravitating towards learning more, understanding more, researching more. And I had a great experience with another holistic nutrition practice in Virginia, which got me compelled to kind of do it here. So the practice was good, but through that, I started randomly making macarons for the young little kids that would come see me, because who wants to be the lady who's like kale and pineapple smoothies all day long,
Right.
So I would go ahead and I looked for macarons in Houston. This was about 10 years ago, and it wasn't there. I mean, macarons are very specific, and they also have a really terrible shelf life. It's like one day. So if people don't buy them, they go stale really quick. And so a lot of pastry shops weren't carrying them. If they did, they weren't good. The other thing is they're really expensive to make.
So tell me, where did you come and I'm gonna rewind this. Let me rewind it a little bit. So you were in Alberta, Canada. You got married.
Yeah.
Moved to Houston.
Yes.
Family stayed in Alberta, Canada.
Yes.
Mom and dad.
Yep.
Where are they at now?
Here.
They moved over here.
Here. My whole family's here. Mom, dad, brother.
So you got divorced. And did parents move after you got married, or
they moved after Macaron business started?
Okay.
So my brother became my business partner, and then a couple years later, my dad came and looked at my QuickBooks and told me, he's an accountant.
Okay.
And he told me I didn't know what I was doing, which he was
so,
absolutely right.
So slow motion again. You got divorced, started this holistic business. What is the holistic?
It was a nutrition practice, like a holistic wellness and nutrition practice.
Holistic wellness practice. You started that. Parents were still in Canada. They came to visit you. They're like, you know what? You don't know what you're doing. We're going to move over here with you.
No, so I did the holistic wellness and nutrition practice, started making macarons, suddenly had catering companies call me, and I was starting to make them out of my apartment. I'm talking like 800 to 1,000 macarons a week. And then my brother was like, we should open up a business. And I'm like, we should. And he thought macarons. I'm like, we don't know what we're doing. So he moved here. We opened up the business 2 years later. My parents moved here.
Your parents moved. Okay, so now we get the whole timeline.
Because my parents, I mean, they were empty nesters at that point, and really, I think they wanted to be around my brother. They more than me. They want to be
around you. You named it Macaron by Patisse.
Yeah.
Who's Patisse?
Kind of me. It's so silly. Okay, so when I started the company, it wasn't just going to be macarons. Okay. And so when when Facebook 10 years ago, I thought I'd call it Patisse, short for patisserie in French. It would be like American French, like, oh, where'd you get that? I got it at Patisse. It sounded good. Yeah. And then when I got into River Oaks, they of course had exclusives. And so they were like, well, there's La Madeleine here and Epicure. You have to pick one pastry. Yeah. So I had 100 followers, Sam, and I needed those 100 followers to know that I was Macaron by Patisse, which is ridiculous now. And so now I don't tell anyone that story because people think I'm Miss Patisse. I get cards addressed to me as that. People think I'm Chef Patisse. So we just go with it. Somebody even named their dog after me. And I was like, okay, we're just going to go with this now.
So tell me, so you started this business. Then we saw in Tillman's show that you have, gotten this commissary, you and your brother, which was way bigger than, I don't know how much was true in the show.
A little bit fabricated there.
It was really big. And
we use every square inch of it.
You use every square inch of it. Okay. Yeah. So it's not.
No, it wasn't entirely true. I mean, there's some things about reality TV, that aren't entirely true. You do pick up lines.
Some is fabricated.
Yeah, some of it is. I mean, you got to get ratings, right? No one's going to watch a show that doesn't have some drama.
Of course. So now you have 2 locations, or 3, right?
So we have 2 boutiques and a kiosk in the Galleria, and then we have our commissary. Right. And then we also do wholesale and ship nationwide.
So I've seen the one in River Oaks and the one in Galleria. And a couple of weeks ago, I sent you a text because that was the first time ever saw it in Woodlands. I mean, Woodlands is so far.
I know.
I mean, I know. If someone tells me to go to Woodlands, I'm like, oh my God, do I got to pack a bag or something like that?
I know. So, don't they say it's like going to Dallas?
It's like,
might as well.
It's south of Dallas, right? But yeah, so I went over there, and it's a really nice area. And
thank you.
Very nice shop. Matter of fact, I went in there, walked around. I'm like, the ladies probably thought I was a creep looking at it.
No, people are always very mesmerized when they walk into the shop. It looks like a little jewelry store. So people are a little bit intimidated initially. And it's a beautiful store.
It's very pretty.
Thank you.
And of course, first time I saw it was a $1 billion buyer.
Yeah.
So did you open that shop? Because like it said, it was a grand opening and all that stuff.
Right. So, yes, another reality show. Faux pas or whatever you want to call it, or non-reality. No, that shop had already been open for a few months.
But it was still new.
But it was still new. But, the whole idea was Tillman telling us not to open. And then I went ahead and opened, that kind of deal. So we created that nice storyline. But no, we were open. And all of those people there were our friends and family who had to sign the mugshot saying they'd be cool with being on TV. We did have Perrier Jouet sponsor that all champagne, which was a lot. So everyone left very happy.
Everyone left happy. Now let me ask you a question. So when did you go back to a timeline? When did you start Macarons by Patisse? What year?
So we signed the lease at River Oaks in 2012.
Okay.
We opened in 2013.
Okay.
2014 we opened Galleria. 2015 we got the commissary. 2016 we opened Woodlands.
So you've been in business for about 7 years now.
Yeah.
Or almost
8.
Almost 8, right? Mm-hmm. So 2013, early 2013?
Yeah. January.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so we just had our 7-year anniversary for River Oaks.
So it's, a lot of businesses, I mean, it's a big challenge, the first 5, 6, 7 years. And I always tell people, like, even in videos I do, and I always say, you got to just, you got to tighten up the belt, and you just got to work that for 5, 6, 7 years. What do you think about that?
I completely agree with you. I do think that I'm very fortunate. I think that I have a product that stands out. I think that my initial location was fantastic. It was the right place, right time. It was a perfect storm, you know? Many people did come into the market and many people have already left, but Houston's competitive. And so I'm very humbled and grateful that we made it as far as we have. As far as my work ethic and how things happened, yeah, absolutely. I'll be honest, the first 5 years, I didn't really pull much of a salary. I pulled a draw, because we were reinvesting it back in the business.
Right.
But we did do well at each one. So it's not like we were worried about having debt or having to work. We didn't have to worry like that. That was something that wasn't a burden on my shoulders. And I'm very fortunate for that.
So you said that you did not take a salary. You just took a draw.
I pulled draws, yeah.
Yeah, but there's people who they open up something and 2 months later, a year later, they're buying a big house, buying a nice car. Well,
I will tell you,
did you buy a nice Ferrari or something?
I so want a new car, and we joke about this all the time because I still drive my 2010 Lexus IS 250 to this day.
Well, you should have treated yourself with a 7th year anniversary.
I know. I do. I have some more goals in mind before I do it, but I mean, for me, it gets me from point A to point B. When I'm in the city, I generally Uber, so it doesn't really matter. But yes, of course, everyone wants to have a nice ride. I mean, but yeah, I'll be honest. There you have it. If you see me zipping around my little IS 250, it's me.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with the IS 250.
No, and it's been so reliable, and I've had no issues. Knock on wood.
Knock on wood. It's a Lexus, so I'm sure since you live in town, unless you go to south of Dallas, which is AKA Woodlands, you're really not putting a lot of miles.
No.
So tell me, if someone is listening and they want to be an entrepreneur, they're an aspiring entrepreneur, they want to open up a business. It can be anything: a cafe, a bakery, anything. Nail shop. What is a couple of messages or some kind of inspiring message you'll give them?
I don't know if this is going to be inspiring or not.
I think advice. Just give an advice.
I think one of the things that I get a lot of people that come to me with small business plans, and it's so exciting, and I love looking at them and kind of hashing them out with them. But I think the first thing to do is, what is your product? Who is your client that you're catering this product to? And what makes this product stand out, right? It's not to say that you can't have more than one macaron shop, or you can't have more than one burger place, or you can have more than one steakhouse, right? There's plenty of that around. Right. But what is it that sets your product apart from anyone else's? So I think that's the first thing, because everyone can be like, oh, I want to open up a jewelry store. I want to go ahead and do a clothing thing. What is it that's different? And then the second thing was, don't be afraid of the hustle and the grind. That's really what you're going to have to do. There is no shortcuts in business. It literally is from the moment you sign that first piece of paper that you're going to do this to the end, you are going to be working. And so if that even slightly is not part of your lifestyle, or you feel like being a business owner is just the idea of being a business owner, don't get into it.
Don't get into it. What do you think about how people get into business because they want freedom of time? What do you think about that?
I think, at least in my opinion, I think it's a myth. I don't necessarily think I have freedom of time, but I do think I have flexibility, if that makes sense. I'm able to be here having a little chat with you in the middle of the day, right? If I had a 9 to 5, that wouldn't be possible. But this also means that I woke up at 5 a.m. I was already at work. I got here. I'm going to go to another meeting. I'm going to go to my kitchen. And I don't know when my day is going to end.
I know you send me a text at 5:30.
Sorry.
I'm like, this girl. Sorry. This girl's worse than me.
I'm up early. I start my days quite early. But
I know you were surprised because I sent you a message
it back,
right back.
And I was like, wow, he's just like me. Yeah. But I do think that is a commonality between business owners, don't you think?
Well,
we tend to be the ones that get up really early.
I don't know, especially a lot of South Asians. They don't wake up at 5:30.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So, a lot of people, that's what they think. They're like, you know what, if I'm going to be a business owner, if I'm going to business, I'll have flexibility, I'll have freedom. I can go on the weekends to, go see New York or something like that.
Well, I also think it depends on your business. I'm in the retail world. For me, my weekends are the busiest time of the week for me, right? Second thing is, I'll be really honest, the first 3 years of my business, I didn't have a life. first year of my business, I pretty much slept maybe an average of 2 to 4 hours a night. You know, did it impact my health? Yes. Did it impact my relationships? Yes. Did it impact, you know, any other goals that I might have set for myself? Absolutely. Is the payoff phenomenal at this point? Yes, of course. But, you know, when people talk about balance, that honestly just does not exist.
Balance does not exist.
It does not exist.
But you know what? I got to give you a high five on that because that's exactly what I said. I said there is no work-life balance.
There isn't. And there's going to be times where you're going to, you know, be more towards your work life. And then there's going to be times when you're going to get that little flexibility to do more of that play. And then, you know, it's going to ebb and flow. But there's never going to be like, oh, I get to do both every day. You know, like it just doesn't work that way.
So now, I know I was talking to you on the phone when I was trying to get you to get over here. You told me that you like to travel also.
I do.
How long, when was once you first started your business, I mean, everybody likes to travel, right? And travel is good for the mind. It frees you, it teaches you things. But when was the first time once you started your business that you really were able to travel?
Okay, so I'll be honest. I don't even know how it happened because now I'm like, how did I do this? It was within the first 5 months. So it was in my 5th month of the shopping open. So it was in May. And I actually went to Paris.
Oh, wow.
And I went because I had opened up a macaron shop, but I wasn't professionally trained. And so I thought, let me go ahead and take a class or 2 or 3 there and see if I'm doing things right, which very different. And it was a great experience. But I did. I went to Paris for about 5 days. And then I was back, and then I didn't travel again for another. So basically I try to dedicate one time a year where I travel, and it'll be like a week. Now, leading up to that, I have everything in place. Like, people know that there's blackout periods. You're not allowed to take time off. You're not allowed to get sick. You know? But I'm also lucky. I work with my brother. My mom and dad are involved. So having family there, it makes it a little bit easier. But generally one major trip a year that's international, and then like small little trips if I can.
So go 5 months, and then after that, when was it? The next
a year later.
A year later.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. So that's good. So, you know, shoot, it's really hard sometime in business to take breaks. I mean, I have since last, I don't even remember, 10 years probably. Try to take maybe like you know, one family vacation and you know, one maybe like a little getaway or something like that. And it's important, you know.
It's hard, but that is something also that anyone you're with is going to have to understand, is that even though you're on vacation, I just can't shut it off. My phone I'm still checking my emails. I'm still checking the phone. I'm still checking my production schedules. I'm still there. You know, I have to limit it, of course, but I do need to still be on top of it.
So, you know, let's talk about macarons, since that's your business. There's hundreds of places that make macarons, right? And you just said, what makes you different, right? So what makes you different? I mean, you know, H-E-B sells macarons now. Kroger sells macarons.
Have you tried them?
I'm asking you.
That's what I should have done. I should have brought a taste test today. No, so I think that there's a few things. One, ours just taste phenomenal. And the reason why they taste phenomenal is we use phenomenal ingredients. You're not getting a macaron for $1.50. You are paying your $2.25, but you're getting that $2.25 worth. We use Belgium chocolate. There's no shortcuts. We don't use a depositor. Each of my employees still hand pipes each macaron shell out. So the quality is just phenomenal, right? You know the difference between like a cupcake from a certain place and a cupcake from another place. I won't use names, but you know the difference in quality. The second thing is we're continually being innovative. So I don't know if you've ever looked at our social media feeds or anything. We do 1 to 2 new flavors every month. We always have themed macarons. So like, for example, for the Super Bowl, we did like potato chip chocolate and pretzel white chocolate mustard, like things like that. We're constantly innovating. We do football shaped macarons. We do custom macarons where you can print your face on them. For Valentine's, we did a singles box so that you could give it to your girlfriends who are single, or, you know, just as a, you know, so it says things like swipe left or next, or so we're constantly innovative. Yeah, we're always doing something different. So it's not a traditional bakery, right? And the other thing is we only specialize in macarons. That's all we do. So
that was my next question.
Yeah.
You don't do anything else?
No, we do some, like if we're doing large catering, we'll do like mini pies or mousse cups or cupcakes. But my minimum order for that is quite high.
So, I mean, you know, my family loves macarons. So we get them from 2 places, either you or there's another competitor of yours on the west side, since we live in the west side, right? So right by I-10 at Bellway area. And I mean, you know, of course, the macarons that we get from one of you places or versus macarons from Kroger's taste totally different.
Well, and I think it just also goes back to the whole stale factor. you have to think about turnover, right? If that person's not turning over that many macarons, within a day they're stale. Yeah. So, think how many people are really buying
So the shelf life of a macaron is 1 day.
1 day.
Okay. And why is that?
So they just they're a pastry. They have meringue in them. They're made with like egg whites and almond meal. And so the egg whites tend to dry them out really quick. Just like a meringue would. You know how they kind of get dry when they're exposed to air. So the shelf life is just, if they're not turning, and that's what I always tell people. I'm like, whenever you see macarons and they look great, buy one, try it. If it's stale, you know that the rest of them don't waste your money, because they are expensive. They're expensive. And that's the other thing, right?
$2.25 is, you buy 2 dozen of them, that's $50.
Yeah, absolutely. And, but that's another thing. I think people have this idea of, the margins must be so great. I teach macaron classes every month, and we do private classes and stuff as well. And you'll come to class and you'll realize how much actually goes into the making of macarons. And at that point, you won't complain. No one will complain.
No, but I don't complain because I like them.
No.
Now, is your gluten-free?
Yes. So we do over 20 flavors. Out of all of our flavors are gluten-free except for usually two. So cookies and cream and birthday cake generally tend to not be gluten-free. Right now, for the flavor for February is chocolate fudge brownie. We also had that for the Super Bowl, and that one is also not gluten-free.
And that's one of the reasons why people like, macarons, because most of the time it's gluten-free. So people who are gluten intolerant,
right. Or even people with celiacs. We also do accommodations for people who are dairy-free. So we'll make custom macarons for them. The other thing that we always do also custom is, if people are throwing events like weddings, we'll custom match their colors or monogram or, invitation suites to match. So I think all of that custom action is what people come to us for.
My brother got married last December.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Not this past December, 2018.
Yeah.
And they ordered macarons from you.
Oh, thank you.
So that was,
that's so nice.
Yeah. So we are your customers.
I love hearing things like that. Still, 7 years later, I'm still like, tell me how great I am.
Honestly, I've been in business for 22 years. And if someone tells me they bought some furniture from me, I love it.
Right?
It's good.
It doesn't get old.
It doesn't get old.
No.
So learn from me. 22 years later, you're just 7 years in, 3 times more. 22 years later, you'll still be like, yes.
I'm sure I'm gonna. Yeah.
Matter of fact, one of my good friends. Have you ever heard of BB's Cajun?
Yeah, of course I have.
So the other day, I went to go eat crawfish, and I sent Brooks a picture, and I'm like, hey, look, I'm right here, and he's had BB's for a long time now, and he's like, oh man, I love it. Thank you so much. Yeah. I interviewed Russell Ibarra, and I was telling him, everybody doesn't get old when you are there. When you are just basically patronizing their business, people just love it. It's just human behavior.
Well, recently, I got a picture from a client, and she took a picture of her daughter that she used to bring in 7 years ago. So she's in a car seat eating a lemon macaron, and then also her daughter now sitting at the chair at our shop eating a lemon macaron, and I'm like, I cannot believe your child has been coming to us for that. This little baby that's evolved into this young girl. Yeah. And it was a nice feeling.
How great of her that she captured that.
Yeah.
That
and
moment.
She sent me them side by side, actually.
That is so good.
Yeah.
So tell me, so your brother got into business with you. You and your brother started this business, and then you're like, okay, well, hey, we're going to start it. Was there an idea? Was there something like a planning that went behind it? Or like, okay, hey, we're going to have a business plan. We're going to have a financial plan. What did you do?
Yeah, but not the way that people make 20-page reports.
Okay.
My financial plan was 2 pages.
Okay.
And the reason for that was obviously I wanted to make sure my numbers made sense, right? I'm deciding to go into River Oaks real estate. How many macarons did I really have to sell to break even, right? And oftentimes, as a new business owner, I didn't even take into consideration insurance and other overhead that I probably should have taken into consideration, you know? And so I really did. And I'm one of those people that's very conservative, so I like to, overestimate how much I would have to sell. But at the time, my catering business was just booming. I literally was making 1,000 macarons a week. And I was like, well, if I'm doing this out of my apartment, surely there's a need for it, right? So I'd already been doing that for a year. I'd already tested the market. I was already doing commercial real estate at the time as well. I have my license. So I was already kind of networked out. And so I went in a little bit confidently. I think now, if you ask me, I was like, man, I was a really confident 27-year-old, what was I thinking? And how did my parents trust me to do all of this? But I think I just knew.
So did you get some help from your parents to start the business?
The business was completely funded by my parents' retirement funds. Yeah.
Awesome.
So my mom took early retirement. She worked for Air Canada for 27 years. She retired early, and yeah, we use that money.
Have you paid them back?
Yes, we have.
All right, there you go. That's a proud moment. I like the way the expression you
told you I'm not in debt, not even to my dad.
So, you started this thing. Now, I know you probably didn't think about franchise tax and insurance.
Oh, I know.
And employee taxes. And
I know. It's like you're not just paying them $18 an hour. You're actually paying them like $24 an hour.
And workers' comp. And
I know.
I mean, so did you take all that in consideration?
Nope, did not.
Did you? When did you learn that? How long before you
within the first month. And I was like, I did not take all of this into account. But, like I said, we had such a strong start and we just did well that that wasn't even the issue. It was a matter of let me just make sure I'm paying everything, everything is being taken care of. I was more worried about that.
So, I said that in one of my podcasts. I'm like, people, if they want to get into business, I mean, don't learn, a lot of people ask me and I'm like, don't learn from me. Learn from what I did not do. It's just like, I think people should take like a little class, some kind of financial, what do I need when I'm in business? What am I responsible for?
And they do offer those, I believe, through the University of Houston and Small Business Department. Yeah. But even then, I would say find somebody that's in the same industry that you're planning on going into. And I'm sure when people come and ask me all the time, I have no problem outlining all of my costs for them.
Right.
I don't have a problem sharing that. I just would rather you go in informed than uninformed, right? When I was doing commercial real estate, I remember, there was a guy that was like, I want to open up a hot dog shop, and everybody wants their hot dog shop in the Galleria. And I'm like, well, how many hot dogs are you going to have to sell in the Galleria area to break even, And he had this estimate, but I'm like, can we add all of this in? Now, how many hot dogs? What are you going to do? Sell them for $20 each? So I think that it's just a matter of being realistic and also having the resources. And that's the thing with Houston. We have such amazing people. There's always someone you can talk to or ask for help.
So you said you were doing commercial real estate. Yeah. You skipped that part for me.
Yeah, I got my real estate license. I did commercial brokerage, tenant rep. I still hang my license, and I still, I still negotiate my own leases and everything. Okay.
Yeah. So you went to school to become a pharmacist eventually.
Kind of, yeah.
You went to holistic. You had a holistic wellness program.
Yeah.
You're a yoga instructor.
Yeah.
You're a chef or a baker,
right?
A commercial real estate. Is there anything else we're missing?
I'm hoping a couple more businesses that I can release or launch with you in a year or so.
All right, so tell me something. What is your what is something like some goals that you're trying to work towards? I mean, what is you must have some. I mean, you look like somebody who wants to do all that stuff. So give us some of the goals that in next 5 years, let's say. Or something you aspire to be.
Okay, well, I'll start on a personal level because oftentimes, we get so caught up in our business stuff. So obviously I need to balance my family life and personal life a little bit. So I'm working on that aspect of my life.
Okay.
And then the other component would be, we are a franchise officially for our business. And so we have over, 150, 180 applications that have come in. So I need to hunker down and start going through them. As well, I want to grow. I just want to grow Macaron. In the meantime, I have 2 other businesses that I'm working on. And so I'm hoping that we'll have the launch in the next year or by the end of 2020.
If I don't want to ask you what's your business, but what kind of field are they in, if you don't mind me asking?
One is service and the other one is also semi-food related.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. So you want to franchise your business, Macaron by Patisse. Mm-hmm. What areas are you thinking about franchising?
I think for now we want to be outside of Houston. So we would want to go, I want to start in Texas. I want to do like Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, and then kind of move states. We have a lot of applications throughout the states as well as internationally actually. So we are potentially looking at even maybe setting up a commissary in the Middle East.
So why you don't want to give anyone licensing in Houston?
I think that we've kind of saturated the market.
But if someone who lives in Cyprus, where do they go buy it?
That's true. And people do say that to me. I also would just have to find the perfect partner. That's the other thing. It's going to be my first franchise. I'm going to be super picky about who I go into business with. Yeah. And so at this point, from the applications that we've seen, we haven't come across someone.
Yeah, because I'm just wondering if someone lives in Cyprus, they're not going to River Oaks.
Right.
And going to Galleria is a mission.
Oh,
and going
totally
inside the Galleria
is even worse.
Is worse, right?
Yeah.
So, and then definitely not going to Woodlands because that's about a 45, 50-minute drive.
Yeah, it is tough. And I know those clients and they always are like, when are you going to open near us? And, the idea is if we find the right partner, the right location, I'm open to it. But ideally, if you were going to ask me, I'd like to venture outside of the
honestly,
city.
If I was like thinking, I'm just saying Cyprus, but Sugarland, Sugarland, Katy, Cyprus.
I mean, there's still opportunity for growth. Yes. Yeah. I think a part of me just wants to.
So one thing, okay. And I had talked to, I've talked to several people, and even like on podcasting, and, I come across people. Why wouldn't you open it? Or do you just not want to open it? You rather franchise it?
You want my really honest answer, I'm assuming?
I want an honest answer.
I am
putting you on the
exhausted from managing staff.
Okay.
My kitchen staff is not difficult to manage. They're amazing. They've been with me for years. And even some of my retail is great. But like you can imagine the Galleria, the turnover that goes through. The thing with these locations is that they don't make the macarons on site, right? Everything is made at the commissary. So you don't really need a whole lot of people in the shops. All they need to do is put macarons in a box and give amazing customer service. And yet somehow that ends up being sometimes difficult.
Exactly.
And so let's just say I go ahead and open one in Cyprus or Katy and they don't show up. Who's running there?
Right.
Me, right? And I already have the Woodlands, I have River Oaks, and I have Galleria. And I think I'm at that point where I just don't want to deal with that.
Gotcha.
So if somebody else, if there's a franchisee, they're vested, they're going to deal with their staff. They're going to deal with their location.
They're going to have ownership in that business.
Exactly. So then I don't have to worry about it.
So if someone wants to, someone who's listening, they're like, oh, you know what, I'm interested. I might want to open up in Cyprus. I want to open up in San Antonio. How do they contact you?
So there is a franchise form on our website. Fill it out. And I will get back to you.
So where do they? It's like a franchisee investor relations.
It'll say at Macaron by Patisse, it just says franchise.
Oh, it's franchise.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can just click on it. It'll give you a submission form. You fill it out. I'll get back to you. It generally has a questionnaire attached to it. Like what areas are you interested in? Do you want inline or kiosk? And then I'll send you the FDD.
Okay, got you. What is the FDD?
Your franchise disclosure documents.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what tells you, how much we've made and all that fun stuff.
And what made you want to franchise it?
Exactly that. I just didn't. I knew
you
that
want to grow the brand.
I know that the brand needs to grow, and it's doing great. We ship nationwide at this point, so that means our macarons have made their way kind of all over the country. So I know that there's a need and desire and demand for it. I just don't want to be. I still want to live my life.
I got you.
A little.
Hey, that's nothing wrong with that. And franchising is a good concept. Matter of fact, I was listening. I remember now. Okay, so I was listening to this podcast on NPR the other day, and this lady had started. It was called chicken salad. That's what she was making. She was making chicken salad, and it's called chicken salad something. I can't. Chicken salad restaurant or something like that.
Okay.
The name of her franchise. It's in because in the South. In the South, when I say South of United States, people eat a lot of chicken salad.
Right.
And you know how like in the North, it's like clam chowder and stuff like that. In the South, it's chicken salad. So she started this chicken salad. She was making a lot of chicken salad, perfected the recipe, and was selling it out of her car. Ended up doing a bunch of, just got a lot of chicken salad. It's one of the fastest growing franchises in the country.
Look at her go. I love it.
Yeah, selling about, I think like 76 million or 176 million. Huge. I mean,
amazing.
The success is huge.
I love that.
And it built it all on franchising. So, I mean, franchise definitely can grow.
Yeah, and I think it depends business to business. And in my situation, I think it could be a good opportunity.
Yeah. Growing a business is always a challenge. Tell me some of the challenges you face every day besides employees. I get that.
Besides employees, we are in a society that is constantly demanding innovation, right? So as great as I think my innovation is, do I think I could do better? Absolutely. Continually making sure that your clients are being serviced. You're still maintaining and fostering the relationships with your existing clients or vendors. I mean, all of that takes a lot of effort. It takes time. It takes attention. And it takes care, and I take pride in those relationships, but sometimes it can be exhausting. Like there's some days where I'm like, I really don't want to talk to anybody, and I'm a very social, extroverted person, but even now I've gotten to a point where I'm like, I kind of need a day where I can sit on my laptop and just like shut the world off, you know? Or I want to be in the kitchen piping macarons, completely zoned out. It's one of my happy places, which I don't get to do as much anymore. But I would say that, it's maintaining and fostering all the expectations people have of you.
You're in a service-related business,
right?
And one pissed off customer can put a lot of social, get on social media, put some bad reviews. How do you, kind of maintain the reputation aspect of it?
My staff get very diligent training, so they know exactly how to work with clients. Remember, we're a luxury good, right? So the people that come into our shops demand a certain quality and amount of service, right? Like it's when you walk into Chanel. You're greeted a certain way. You're given a glass of champagne. Like there's a an etiquette that goes with it. Right. So my staff are very well trained on that. And then the second part of it is that we've just maintained really high standards. And so we haven't really had to, knock on wood, experience much of that.
Okay.
If we ever do, I'm the first to be the one on that phone and be like, what can I do to make this better? Gotcha. What happened? Let me fix it, and it'll never happen again.
It'll never happen again. Yeah. I mean, that's the best way to do it. Get in front of the problem.
Oh, I pride like our company on that. That's something that's important to me. It's the same way where I go to nice luxury places. If I don't have a good experience and they don't fix it for me, I'm a little hesitant to go back. If I have a great experience, I'm there every week, And so it's just that loyalty, the brand loyalty matters a lot to me. Yeah.
I mean, and brand loyalty is, you can only build it by getting in front of the problem and not hiding from them.
So, but that's your other thing, right? When I as the owner have become the face of the company, that also extends me a little bit, right? So not only me dealing with the business staff, but I've also become the face, which creates a whole new.
Trust me, I know all about that.
Yeah.
So one more thing I want to talk about, and I mean, let's get a little more personal level. So you say, places you go to. Tell me some of the places that you like to go to, like to eat.
Absolutely.
Like to, you did the spinning. You do the spinning.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that. What is your favorite place to eat?
Oh, I have many favorite places to eat. So it's all about the genre of food. So right now I've been loving going to Eunice. I don't know if you've been yet. No, it's like kind of in line with Tony's right there on Richmond and Adlo area. The great seafood. I just like sitting at their bar. It's great.
Eunice is seafood.
No, that's where I would go for seafood right now. I love sushi. Kata Rabata is one of my favorite places, or MF. I just like food. So I have a lot of favorite food places. As far as other things I do in my personal life, I still do yoga. I actually do train at the Post Oak Hotel. So I'm sure you know Cruz, of course. He trains with Dose. So do I. And so that's how I get a lot of my aggression out early morning.
Oh, good.
Is to go get my workout in. But other than that, I mean, I think Houston has some great places to go. I mean, B19 is right around the corner from me, so I'm a regular there.
Wow. Okay. Well, you have your picture hanging right there.
Oh no, I hope not. That would be horrible.
So you like, tell me why. What you said you work out, you get your aggression out. Tell me a little bit about that. Why do you find that important, or why do you find it necessary? So I like to talk about that all the time, because that way people can know why, and I think if you're in business, it's just so important to get some of it out.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's also why I do such intense activities, right? Whether it's like spin or like, doing high intensity interval training. Or even when I taught yoga, I did a flow, it was hot flow. I was sweating it all out. For me, obviously the physiological reasons are a big thing. I come from a health and wellness background. I get how important it is. Your endorphins are increased the moment you exercise, your cortisol levels go down. When you're a business owner, all of that is out of whack. Your hormones, your cortisol, your all of that. And so I think that if you can dedicate some time for yourself where you can check out, when you're slamming those dead balls, that's when you get all that aggression out. You do what you need to do.
Feel good about that, huh?
Yeah, and then you leave and the rest of your day can continue. Now, that's one thing I can't do. I can't work out in the evenings because my schedule is too unpredictable. So I'd like to, but then something can come up or I'll get delayed or whatever. So my thing is, which is why I wake up so early.
You know why I can't work out in the evening? I'm just beat.
You're tired.
I'm tired.
I get it.
Yeah.
I totally get it.
How do you, like in the evening, if you don't want to work out, how do you kind of relax? What do you do? Are you like a TV watcher? Are you a book reader?
I'm a book reader.
You're a book reader?
I'm definitely not a TV watcher.
Okay.
Yeah. Not that I don't enjoy some great shows, but definitely much more a reader. And if I'm not, my way to unwind really is socializing. I'm one of those people that likes to sit and have a glass of wine with somebody, or
social butterfly.
Yeah, I mean, not large groups or whatever, but having like good conversation, or having some friends over, or girlfriend over. I mean, it's just always nice to do that.
It's always nice to do that. You said that you want to open up a couple of businesses and this and that. Is there something, you have a goal, like, you know what, I want to buy a plane one day?
I love that
I want to buy the chopper that Tillman had.
I love that you asked me that question, because I just recently finished a book, and one of the chapters on there that was dedicated was, what's your why? Like, what is it that every day when you wake up in the morning, what gets you up? Mm-hmm. What is it that you're working for? I love designer things and I love traveling. I think for me is just having financial independence. I watched both my parents work as I grew up. My mom worked shift work and worked in Vancouver while we lived in Edmonton commuted. My dad worked for the hospital. They had we didn't get to spend time with them together much because of their chaotic schedules. And it's an immigrant family. They come here, they work 3 jobs each. And so it was always really important to me to be able to have time with my family while still not worrying. Like, I don't want to have to worry about how my bills are going to get paid. I'm also somebody that will learn to live within whatever means I have. Mm-hmm. So if I don't make that much, I won't I'm not one of those people that likes to put things on my credit card. I don't ever have a balance. But I work for financial independence.
So, you said you don't like to put things on your credit card. And that's a very important message that I would like to talk a little bit about, especially people who are, because, in this world, we live in social media age, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just like, people like to portray that success. Mm-hmm. And I've talked to people and they have said, well, if I don't show this and if I don't buy this and if I don't do that, then people will not take me serious and they won't think I'm successful. What is your opinion about that?
I see why some people may say that. Uh-huh. In my circumstance, I'm a luxury good. Yes, I get invited to really nice parties and I still have to look a certain part. Does it matter whether I'm wearing my lubes or yes, like I have, nice pieces here and there, but I don't think that my value or worth is based on that. I would rather go to bed without any stress on my shoulders as to this debt that I have looming versus go to bed knowing everything is okay and paid for, Okay. So yes, I think this is something that my parents have instilled in me. Like if you cannot afford it, you're not getting it. If I can pay it off that month, that's when I get it, and that doesn't mean I don't treat myself or do the finer things in life. I mean, I feel like I've earned it, but I'm still very cognizant of those purchases. And if I am going to spend my money, it'll be on an experience. I'd rather travel. But that's a personal thing for me. But I think people need to really bring it back to what is your value statement for yourself? What is it that and if you do portray all this wealth and success, is that really going to generate more wealth and success? Like, is that really a true statement? Mm-hmm. True. Or are people going to see value in your authenticity and see that you're really working hard and you're grinding it out and you care about them and you're putting them before you're even putting yourself?
Gotcha. Talk about humility. What is your idea of humility? I mean, and why is humility important? What do you think?
I think it's what you said earlier. We live in an era of social media. It's hard to really know who somebody really is, mm-hmm. right? And I think the more and more we're getting into the world of social media, those walls are starting to come down. And I think people are appreciating the authenticity and people want to be able to relate to you. Mm-hmm. If you're up here and the majority of the people are down here, there's an unrelatability factor. So why not just be who you are? But I also think humility comes from, you have it today. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Oh, so true.
You don't.
So true.
You could have it all and you could lose it all.
Lose it all.
And then what are you going to do?
So, that's one thing that I always say, one of my mantras. But there's people, and I was invited to this show with Ursh. He has this show called The Flex Coach. Real nice guy. Bright kid. Let me just put it that way. Because he's 22, 23.
Wow.
It's a kid for me. I'm 42. Yeah. So
kid for me too.
All right. So, and that's the question he asked me. He's like, well, but there's some people who don't want to be humble because and I don't know why he said that, but he's like, well, people don't want to be humble because they don't want people to take advantage of you. That person don't want people to think that they are weak or they cannot stand up for themselves.
I don't think those two are related at all.
And that's one thing that I told him. So tell me, what do you think if I ask that question?
Yeah, I don't think that those two things are related at all. In fact, when I see somebody who's far more humble and carries themselves with grace and dignity, I probably respect them more. I look at them as somebody who's not sitting there dropping names or I know this person or I did this or, oftentimes when I get that, I'm like, okay, that's a lot of fluff. Like, who are you really? Right. And so, no, I don't think that has anything to do with being humble. And I think it is important. Like I said, life is unpredictable.
Right.
I mean, unfortunately, we live in a society right now where even sending your kids to school, you're worried. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Or today. And so I just think that if we don't live with that modesty, with the humility, with an ability to be humble and a way to relate to the masses, then we're not really connecting on a deeper level.
So yeah, I'm glad you said that. Humility to me, to be humble is more important than anything, it's here one day and next day it's gone.
And it's hard. Ego gets in the way. I mean, ego's a strong thing.
I was at a gathering earlier. We went to go read books to these elementary school kids.
That's adorable.
And we were just right there and we were talking about it, and we were talking about why the coaches don't do that when the commentators are telling and the other people are telling them what to do. And I'm like, it's the ego, because I'm the coach of this team and I'm not going to listen to anybody. And I mean, same thing in business. People make some stupid decisions and they don't listen to anybody. It's all about the ego. I'm the business owner. It's my business. And when you start doing that and you get that ego and that pride right there, it's just the downfall. It can be the biggest demise. I mean,
your business will not be sustainable that way. I think that's something that I learned very quick. And I think that the certain personality of business owners that make them successful business owners is because they have that confidence, right? They have that leadership skill. Right. But I think as you get further into your business, you need to start listening. That's, I think, a very important skill to have, right? It's listening to your employees. It's listening to your clients. It's listening to colleagues. I mean, there's so many people out there that know things way better than we do.
Right. One of my famous quotes, one of the quotes that I always say, hopefully one day I'll get famous. None of us is smarter than all of us. I mean, that's it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I feel like this should be a famous quote. I think it should go on this wall.
One day.
I think it should go on this wall. Why not? Make it today. Make it today. Make shit happen.
You heard that, Angel?
Make shit happen.
Make shit happen.
Right in here.
I really appreciate you coming over here, Sukaina. Thank you for
so
sharing this with us.
Me.
Thanks for taking the time. I know the interview ran a little longer. We blabbed a little bit and everything. Before I let you go, I have to ask you one thing.
What?
If there was nothing else left and you want to leave something, a written message for your future generation or for the world, okay, 3 things you'll leave for them.
Gosh.
What will it be?
Ended on such a deep note.
You thought you were off the hook.
I know. I was like, man, that went well.
3 things.
3 things. First, I will say, this was a quote that I heard that I really like, and I have to remind myself to live by. It's wherever you are, be there. Okay, so I think we live in times when we're just not present. If we're sitting here, we're thinking about the next thing. Well, I wasn't. I was being present. But, you're in a meeting and you're thinking about what the next thing you're going to do. Yes. You're, even when you're at church, for example, or mosque or wherever you're going, you're in the middle of a prayer and you're thinking about what the next thing is to do, or you're sitting with your friends and you're thinking about. So I just feel like we've lost that element of being mindful and present. So wherever you are, be there.
Awesome. I love
life
it.
is too short.
I love it. So that's 1.
That's 1. Gosh, I should have thought about it. This is a homework you should have given me. Things that I want to leave people with.
If I would give you the homework,
this wouldn't be as fun. I know, authentic. You're right. I would have found something online. No, I'm kidding. I think the second thing will be your health and family are everything.
All right.
So, my background, but I think that, fostering those relationships with your loved ones and taking care of yourself, like there's nothing better that you could do for yourself. And then last thing will be resilience. Work on building personal resilience, both on an emotional level and professional level. And I think if you have resilience, you can pretty much get through anything.
You're going to have to explain that a little bit more.
Okay.
I'm not letting you off the hook
I know.
Yet.
I was like, it sounded really good. I know.
It sounds really good.
Well, because we all are going to face adversities in our life, right? We're all going to have struggles and we're all sitting here trying to take the next step or make the next move. And the only way we can overcome those is with resilience, right? And resilience is hard to build. That's usually when people give up. That's usually when people falter. That's usually when people make the wrong decisions. It's in how you deal with those moments and how resilient you are that you kind of overcome them. And, I like to say that, me going through my divorce culturally, that was a very hard thing. And if it wasn't for the support of the people that love me so much, that had, that were there for me and me building my own emotional resilience, I don't think I'd be here today. I don't think I'd be sitting across from you, And so that's something that I tell people all the time, and especially women. We are very emotionally resilient people. We just have to learn to bring it up.
I mean, women are more stronger than men.
I agree. I didn't want to say that.
A lot of people don't say that, but I'm
can I give you a high five for that? Really, I love that you said that.
What? It's true.
I agree, but I don't want to ever say, because people are like, oh, a female being the president of the United States, I mean, she'll be too emotional.
If a female cries, she cries in her bed or behind closed doors. If a man cries, everybody kind of see it. They already pissed off at the world.
Yeah.
In front of everybody, just have a bad mood. I mean, they're trying to mask that behind them.
No, we are. And we handle so much, I think, as women, especially as gender roles have been changing over the generations. We're pulling a lot of things from here and there. And yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're pretty strong. 2020, come on, let's face it. I mean, this is not like 1915 or 1920. It's 2020.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. Yeah. I really do.
Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.